All right, we finished the first hole with a par, if you watched the last video. Now we're walking on to the second hole. And the question I have for you now is it possible to really be successful if you're not happy? I know that we can actually have a lot of money, we can have a lot of cars, we can have a lot of world success, the right job, the right position, the right family, all of those things that other people define as successful, that the world defines as successful. But if we're not happy, are we actually truly successful? Is it possible to be successful and not be happy? Because think about even people that are that make amazing commitments, right? They make a commitment to feed the poor, to have nothing themselves, to be minimalists, or they make a commitment to give up their life for the sake of other people, or they take a vow of celibacy. Some of these major commitments that seems like it would make them unhappy. Well, the reason they do that is because it makes them happy. So fulfilling those things, even if it costs them their life or some enjoyment or some pleasure, it makes them happy. If it doesn't make them happy, I wonder if they're truly successful, because I wonder if that's what they're truly supposed to have been doing. So as you look at your life and you look at the successes that you've had, if you're unhappy, are you truly successful? Or are you successful by a standard that's not really the right standard? That's the life that I lived, right? I was successful by every one of the world's standards: money, health, family, relationships, nonprofit involvement, making a difference in the world. I was successful, but I wasn't happy. So maybe I was determining my success. I was keeping score based on the wrong scorecard. I wasn't keeping score based on my scorecard of what success truly is for me, what happiness is truly for me. And so that's been part of my journey, is trying to define what really is success in my life. And that's hard, to strip away all the defaults and the expectations and the shoulds and all the things that we're supposed to want to have in our lives. That's the challenge that we have on this journey to happiness, is to define what success really means for you. I've done a lot of consulting with small business owners, and one of the first things I ask them is I say, why do you have a small business? And they can't really answer that question, because there's many reasons why you own your own business. Maybe because you want to leave a legacy, maybe you want to build a large enterprise, maybe it's wealth accumulation, maybe you just want to have a job and be your own boss, to not have an external boss. Maybe you just want to have something to kind of get you through to retirement. What are you really trying to do? Because if you don't know why you're in small business, if you don't know what your real goal is, how can I help you? How can I consult with you? How can I help you get there? It's like Alice in Wonderland. And while I'm doing this, I'll spin around so you can see a little bit of hole number 2. It's like Alice in Wonderland. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And this is how it is in our own personal lives and our own personal pursuit of happiness. If we don't know what success really means for us, if we don't know what happiness really means for us, how do we make the right decisions? We don't. We go back to the default of what other people say success is, of what other people's happiness is, and we start living somebody else's life. And then we wake up one day like me when we're 48 years old and we say, what the hell? This isn't even really my life. It's a good life on paper, but it's not my life. So I want to challenge you to figure out what is success for you, and to ask yourself the question, can I really be successful if I'm not happy? And how do you intertwine those two things? How do you start to define success on your terms, in terms that make you happy? Okay, that's the challenge. And so as we think about that here on hole number 2, I'll give you a little look over the shoulder. I'll give you a little bit more of a better look here in a second, but that's where we're going, kind of straight down the middle. Throw it straight, baby. So here's a look at hole number 2, 226-foot par 3. That's about all I got in my backhand throw. Kind of got an elevated tee box here. It goes down, dips down, and then it goes straight forward. And you probably can't see it on the camera, but what we want to do is we want to kind of go to the right of that first tree that's there on the left, and to the left of that split tree on the right. We want to split the difference there. Go right down the guts, throw it in there, and then just kind of hope it settles in there. We could park it. We could get really close to the basket if things cooperate, but the key, I have to do my part. This is like pursuing happiness. I have to do my part. I have to figure out what's my strategy, and then I have to execute on that strategy. So what would make me happy, what would make me successful, is to split the gap down the middle there and then hope that the variance of life goes in my favor. So wish me luck. All right, so as we go forward and look for this disc, hoping that it turned out pretty good, kind of the converse question is, can we be happy if not successful? Now, I still think it comes back to the same thing, and I think the idea of bringing together those two ideas is what we want to do. We want to start bringing together the idea of happiness and successful kind of being the same thing. But I do think it is possible to be happy by our standards, even though not successful by the world standards. But if we go back to our standard, that by definition is success, right? If happiness is sort of our goal, even if bad things make us happy. So I think we need to just start tearing apart that whole paradigm about what success is. I think we need to start looking at what success is through a different lens. We need to start using our own success, our own happiness, our own vision for what we want for the future as the standard on which we determine if we're successful or not. What is our vision? What is our mission? What is our hope? What is our values? What is that personally? What makes us happy? What do we want out of life? What do we want out of relationships? That becomes the standard upon which we determine if we're successful or not. So we're no longer grading our success based on the overall grading system of money, cars, jobs, any of those things, unless those are what truly make us successful, right? But we start having the internal grading mechanism for determining our success, not an external one. And I think that's the key. All right, let's check out and see where our drive ended up here. All right, so there's the drive. Now, I didn't get all of it. I wasn't able to torque it as much as I wanted, but this should be a pretty easy par. I mean, there's a chance I can sink this. If we kind of go behind the disc, we see our track to the basket. There's a pretty open track. I mean, there's one tree that kind of leans into the right that might be kind of tricky, but we're going to see what we can do. Hopefully you can get a good view of it here. Oh. So for example, on that shot, I kind of wanted to try to make it, but success was actually getting it close so I could drop in my third shot. So by the world standards, success might have been making that. By my standards, it was being able to drop in the third putt with no sweat. So mission accomplished. So we were successful. So by my standards for that hole, it was a success. Question is, how do you define success?